No way.
Yes. Now we're live now. Great to see everybody. How's everybody doing? Yes, I'm dressed up because I had things to do this morning that involved
Important lawyery things.
I was lawyering things. I was lawyering things. Hey, but last night, Jesse, big news. We need to hop right into it. We filed, along with our colleagues at AILA, the opposition to the government's motion to reopen. I have just posted a Dropbox link in the 601A Facebook group, and we'll be sending an email out to clients shortly, probably tomorrow, with the link and some explanation. But just tell me about this filing. Tell us what this is about.
Yeah. So, number one, I mean, what everyone needs to understand is, we probably have between 10 and 15 attorneys, the best and brightest, working on this project. And, the government came in and wants to tell the court that the court has no jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is a big word for ability to do anything. The court, you can't look at this case. You can't consider how long is too long for 601As. And, we spent the better part of 2 weeks going through and making arguments to show the court that not only does Judge Lynn have jurisdiction, but that our case is meritorious. And I think we're going to end up having a hearing not only on that, but on the ability for us as a team to represent everyone who fits within our class definition of those who've been waiting a certain amount of time for 601As. So I think it came out incredibly strong, and we're before the right judge. And again, it's really part of this larger effort by the government to tell courts that they cannot look at what they're doing or not doing in this instance. And so the other thing we got last night, by the way, because the judge had not held things up, is we got disclosures about who is doing what. It's the first step in discovery, really. And the government provided us a list of names and their responsibilities for when we anticipate we can go and take discovery, which is when we, quote unquote, discover the reasons for the delay, right? We don't think it's just about the pandemic or other the startup of this new virtual service center and other reasons. We think it was an intentional policy choice not to adjudicate these waivers like they had been for the last 5-6 years. So more to come. Don't have a timeline on when the hearing will be, but that's up to Judge Lynn. But again, mission accomplished, at least in the short term.
Now, Jesse, the government has an opportunity to reply to this. I think it's due Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The judge set that. And given the fact that the judge is also sitting on the class certification motion, if I was going to guesstimate, I would imagine we'd have a hearing in the next 2 weeks, personally. I don't know, but
yeah,
this judge, her calendar, I'm not going to call it the rocket docket, but there's no grass growing. There's no grass growing.
She's really good. I mean, I think it'll be to our. I hate to make read too much into how judges manage their docket, but a quick hearing actually I think would be quite good for us.
Hey, if you don't mind, Jesse, I kind of want to walk a little bit through. This is a 24-page filing. Again, you could go to the Dropbox link in the IMMPact group and take a look at this. But the government had a couple reasons why the court had to dismiss the case. Their position is the court has to dismiss the case, not that the court could dismiss the case. The government has to prove that the court has to. And one, as Jesse talked about, this idea the court doesn't have legal authority to rule. Now, our position is that there's a federal law called the Administrative Procedures Act. It's been around for 70 years. And basically it says, hey, federal courts, if an administrative agency like the government takes too long to do something beyond reasonable, then you can order them to do it faster. And the government argued that these are not the droids you're looking for, kind of thing, Judge. Don't look here. as if she's some sort of stormtrooper who can't think for herself. That's their first argument, that the court cannot rule because on the delay. They can't, not that the delay is reasonable, but they just literally can't rule. And
yeah, I think
what I love about this, Jesse, is how this was phrased. This would lead to the absurd result that the USCIS could collect fees to adjudicate provisional waivers and then stop adjudicating them.
Yeah.
With no consequence or recourse.
Well, that's not really that too far removed from what happened.
That is exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, so, but I mean, what would be amazing though is, it's not too far to imagine. And if I had a chance to tell Judge Lynn, what if we had an executive who said, stop adjudicating 601As, and if the court agreed with the government, nobody could do anything, except maybe Congress would have to pass a law, right? And good luck.
You mentioned an executive telling the agency to stop processing cases, because is there another explanation for what happened? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I think
something came down.
USCIS is a juggler. I think USCIS is a juggler. I think Orjadu is up there. She came in after the regime that did shut down everything, and came in and said, "Hey, we have employment-based visas. Do them." And then she took some balls away, and she's trying to juggle. So now it was, hey, so what happened? They stopped doing other things, right? I-601s. They wanted to do naturalizations. Naturalization became a very big ball, right? So they wanted to do those. And their excuse, I don't want to make their argument, but their excuse, which would be a good argument, would be is like, hey, we prioritize and we deprioritize 601As because we don't like them as much as we like getting through the immigrant visa.
That's the kicker. The reason they did it. Now, the next thing the government argues as part of that is there is a recent Supreme Court case from June of last year called Patel versus Garland. And Patel's a crazy case. It's some dude who lied who said he was a citizen to a state driver's license agency. And then he was put into deportation proceedings, and a judge denied his adjustment of status, denied his green card, and said, hey, you made a false claim of citizenship. He appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court didn't rule on that issue. What the Supreme Court said was, we don't have authority to rule on adjustment of status discretionary denials. Yeah. That's what that case is about. And the government is arguing that Patel, no, Patel's much broader than that. It actually goes to any type of discretion we ever do. And by the way, discretion to not do anything is discretion. That's
really it. It's them making the argument that the decision on an application is discretionary.
Right.
So they can, so in essence, they can never decide, and that's okay.
That's okay. Now, their second argument was that our complaint apparently didn't plead delay or something. It was a very vague argument about jurisdictional delay.
It's the 526 trotted out there. Hey, you haven't proven your case, even though we hold all the information about how
the evidence. You haven't proven your case. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Which, honestly, in some courts have bought it, so I can understand why the government keeps making it in the 526 context, and some others, right? And some other courts have said, things they shouldn't, like, 5 years is okay for an immigration case, and they speak in those broad terms. But what people need, it's ridiculous. You would never teach a civil procedure class in law school and say, if you don't prove your case, your complaint will be dismissed. That's not the standard.
In your complaint.
Yeah, it's not your standard. Your standard is a short and plain statement of the facts that make your case. And we've certainly done that.
It's called notice pleading. And that's all you have to do.
What's crazy is the government has actually made our case more plausible through their filings and their evidence that they submitted to demonstrate, hey, we're opening up this giant virtual facility because we can't get our arms around this problem that we created. Okay.
but you do have to live within 4 hours of that virtual facility to work for that facility, which doesn't exist.
Right. Or they don't dispute. I mean, this is the other part, right? It is an undisputed fact that processing times have gone up from 4 months or 4 to 6 months to 31 and change.
45,
So
depending
I
on
don't know. Is that reasonable?
I haven't noticed the new HARP service center in the drop-down menu of places where
I was just looking also at processing times, and there's no processing times available yet for the HARP service.
Is HARP in the drop-down menu now?
Not for processing times.
No. So there you go.
It's just Nebraska at 36 months and Potomac at 43 months.
43 months, almost 4 years.
All right. By the way, last point, there's been radio silence on, because, again, not to make the government's case, but one of the things they would do is say, you know what, we just have, COVID and this and that and, staffing, and we're opening up this new virtual center, but you're not taking any of the actions that we've put out there that they could take to help with the burden that is being felt only by the plaintiff. Like, the government doesn't feel the burden. They're just collecting money and boxing up these files. But I mean, the families who are in the audience today, I guess, are the ones really being affected, and they're being offered no remedy. Like, just wait.
Because they don't have to offer. Their position is we don't have to offer remedy.
One thing that was interesting. So I guess they had a listening session, or they had some kind of something the other day that one of the workers on our team was on, and they had indicated that they have transferred all I-601A cases to this new service center. However, we track pretty closely on with our data scraping tool, and it's like only half of our plaintiffs have transferred.
Here's my question, Greg. There is no service center to transfer to, and as they noted in their presentation, the employees of HARP, and there apparently are employees of HARP, have to live within 4 hours of the location at which they're picking up the file. They cannot stop at a gas station or to take a pee after they pick it up before they get home, obviously for obvious reasons. Because I believe there was an accident several years ago where case files were spread all over a freeway somewhere and they lost everything.
I never heard about that.
Yeah, that's a true story. So they're clearly assigned. But here's what I don't get, Greg. We have 299 plaintiffs, including some that are well beyond both processing times at service centers, and not one has heard. That tells me they are, and there's no way that all of our plaintiffs, that at least one of them is not in the oldest 10, 20.
Yeah, we can tell that cases were transferred, but we don't know where. And I guess our plaintiffs don't know where.
No, they're not telling them where.
They are. So that's all we know. And we also know that quite a few weren't transferred, even though they are publicly claiming they all were transferred.
I just don't understand how, because it's funny, because through this lawsuit is how people have heard about the HARP Service Center. They apparently had opened this.
Oh, they didn't include 601As in it at first.
Right, but they had said they opened it in October or something. They made plans, but I don't remember anyone talking about it.
Well, you know why? Because it was only for I-90s and advanced paroles, humanitarian. It was a very small effort, and clearly they got their butts sued and said, "OMG, what are we going to do? Hey, aren't 601As kind of humanitarian? Sure."
But they're not committing. But they're not committing to a certain processing time.
No, of course they're not, because they have no. I mean, this is so poorly managed. This is why we have to have discovery, because we will shine the brilliant light of day on the stink that is the process at Immigration Service.
You know what? I actually don't understand why they're litigating this case. I really don't. I have a hard time with it because there's so many easy fixes, and I say that all the time. I guess maybe because we don't sue for every case, right? We sue for the good ones.
Yeah.
This one to me screams about, like, why are you hiding? What happened to the times? What policy decision was made? There's so many questions.
Right.
But they do not want to answer. That's why they're fighting.
No, they don't.
They don't want to answer. All right, let's go quick to our other case that's pending. 601 waiver applications. It's filed. The TikTok clock is running. We're about 20 days, 15, 20 days into the TikTok clock for the government to respond. They have 60 days. I think there's 14 plaintiffs in that group. We're still onboarding for more 601 cases. We're going to file them, as they say in Spanish, enseguida, as they come in. I do also want to mention the EB5 case, which is, I'll find my tag here for EB5. It's got to be somewhere here. That's not it. There it is. The EB5 litigation, not Jane. It's Iyer. We haven't heard from the judge. I'm surprised, actually. It's been 8 days.
I think it's a good thing for you.
I think it's a good thing, but I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up. We'll see. We'll see. So that's just, I mean, just so you know, there's nothing to report. All right, we got some questions here. We got up top. We got Mr. Anderson.
No go decision yet.
No decision. So in hearing, so media coverage. So you're in Nebraska is where the 601 litigation is. Generally, the courts have a Zoom. If they're doing it by Zoom, which a lot of these courts do, then you can literally sign in and you'll see the court hearing. So yes, if you want to, if it's in person, you can physically go. Federal courts are open. I never get email related to 601 lawsuit. I'm part of it. Now, Jose, I don't know why, but you should be emailing Mr. Siskin at gsiskin@impactlitigation.com.
I will find out.
You're at it.
It's possible that there's a snafu in the database that's keeping it. So if you find me by email, I'll see if I can figure out.
He can still go into the database, can't he, and make sure that his information's correct, Greg? Can you do that still?
I just need to check his email address. It's not a big deal.
If that's your whole name, if your name is Jose Bravo, that's great. But we don't know your email. I don't want you to put your email in publicly. Just email Greg. Any updates on the H-1B? No, I still don't have the documents, and they've got about 10 days left to get them to me. In fact, I've got my official service on the government right here. But that's pending.
Have you been seeing though the discussions? I'm sure you guys, because you guys are brilliant well, I don't know if you do the H1s, but you certainly see the listserv. But people are losing their mind because there's so much evidence that these shell companies or scam companies.
It's unbelievable. There's all kinds of stuff on Reddit. It's unbelievable.
And I don't get to talk to you guys that much, but I can tell you in the last week how many people have contacted me, because what's happening is this: the H1B beneficiaries are going to get issued, and they're getting either 6 seed. Yep. Oh, these are on approved H1s. They're going abroad, and they're getting 6 seed for making misrepresentations, and they're not being told before they leave the U.S. Like for those that are in the U.S., or if they're outside, they're getting 6 seed, and they're all getting revoked. And so not only are you not getting, really, the program is being screwed both ways because they're not even being issued.
But let me check. Who warned about this? I know. I recall something about this.
Well, people are losing their minds now.
There you go. And no, immigration has still, week 8, not released any information about how many, week 4, almost week 5, about how many applicants there were for the H-1B. Processing time 751. It's not going to improve because they just extended the receipt for 4 years.
Well, here's the thing. I do a lot of 751 litigation. In my view, there's a statutory deadline, and the government will settle those lawsuits.
Jesse's a master of these things.
Yeah, they don't fight those.
If you've got a legitimate good case, I mean, if you're shaky and you got no evidence, obviously don't sue them. But if you got a good case, sue them. Why not?
Yeah.
How protected by the laws are the arguments of the government? So Gustavo wants to know, how strong are the government arguments? I think they're garbage. I said they were garbage from the beginning.
I think they're a little bit above garbage. But you never know. I mean, one of the things that people, from like either a technical background or a non-legal background, is they think there's no quote unquote noise in the legal system. Judges are human beings. I mean, I've said this before. I think some give out like criminal sentences that are more harsh right before lunchtime than they do after lunch, and it's a proven fact. And so you have to appreciate the human element. So they have arguments to make, and we have responses. I mean, we're on the side that our responses are better, but we never know.
Take a look at it, read it, and read it.
There's a whole industry in legal tech that all they do is basically get analytics to figure out where to file cases, because judges are so different from place to place. And Jesse's absolutely right. It's like there's not consistency that you would expect. If you would expect the law is like computer code, and you just follow, judges just follow it and they make decisions that way. No, it's every person is different.
Greg, I understand there's new technology. You can just ask it where to file. It will tell you the best place to file. Who needs an industry when you can just ask ChatGPT? Tim Sankey. So yes, Julie Rodriguez, the former White House advisor, did in fact say they pulled the adjudicators off the 601A. She did in fact say that. It's an email we received when we reached the White House about. Well, Tim, if you want to forward that to us, we can also add that to the case.
Yeah.
Elliott, New Hartford does not have sync numbers. We don't know when they will work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get more information. I am fully convinced the judge is going to toss this motion to dismiss, and we're going to start digging deep into the weeds.
Well, I mean, and not to paint here with a rainbow here, but if it goes our way on the motion to dismiss and we get a class that's certified, I do think the government would almost have to start engaging in serious settlement about a timeline to bend down the curve on processing times, and perhaps give people work authorization, travel authorization, maybe some peace of mind on the removal, things like that. Things that they can do right today. They can do that today, by the way. But,
I don't even need a reg for that. Notice transfer to Potomac. What is the largest time an appeals court has ever taken to give a verdict in U.S. history? What I would do, DG, is I would ask ChatGPT that question.
I've waited for an appellate decision.
It might lie.
Yeah. I've waited for an appellate decision from the Ninth Circuit before for over a year.
Oh, I have as well. I've waited a couple of years for the Ninth Circuit. So I again, he's talking about the lottery case.
Yeah,
we are. 6 months in Nebraska, we did have a super timeline under Judge's award. The government kept filing motions to get an extension. We don't know the government attorney in this case yet. They haven't entered their appearance. When we know, we'll let you guys know. Hey, Dennis, the change 150,000 on the case back would take 25. Yes, exactly. A point we kind of make in our brief. It's the same number. Good afternoon. Sahar, good to see you. Sudanese. Oh my God.
Sorry about what's happening in your country.
Again, who Curtis is bringing a bunch of these lawsuits? I would tell you to ask Curtis. He's been very active in the Sudanese space the last couple of days I've seen on Twitter.
There's no way in God's green earth they're going to reserve diversity visas for a specific group from a specific country. They're just not going to do it. I mean, what they need to be doing, if you're a diversity visa applicant and you're safe, number one, and you have the ability, you need to transfer your case immediately if they haven't already done it. Like that, it's April. So we're talking about reserving visas.
Is the embassy, are they closed? They've closed their consular operations. So is that an automatic that they do that, or is it you have only on request when the consulate closes?
I think I would do well. They are probably going to figure it out right now where these cases are going to go and transfer them on their own. But if you have a place where you think you can go and travel to, you should make that request yesterday.
Yesterday, immediately. Jesse, they've issued a bunch of these visas already, haven't they?
I haven't seen them. I know the numbers are pretty well. I mean, it's the same story though. Like Europe is way up. I think OC is pretty far up, but I think Africa is lagging again because you have the bad actors who just refuse to do it. And but I don't think. My opinion is this. The diversity visa lawsuits, because there isn't a blanket policy not to do them, they go nowhere. They're not going to go nowhere.
No judge is going to rule on that. So Guadalupe saw part of the covenant did not issue with the handling person. Well, basically, the idea is that it's confidential when they bring it into their house. But I agree with you. I think it's completely insane to let people bring physical files.
One more argument for e-filing. Why is it 2023 and we have ChatGPT, but we still have paper filing with USCIS?
Okay. Waiver. I know we filed. I said more than last. I think it wasn't last. Was it last week? It was a bit older than that. The week before. 2
weeks ago.
Any go news? No. Will there be any light into this tunnel for the 601As? I remain convinced. We're going to move this forward. Keep the faith. You got to believe. Tug McGraw, 1973. You got to believe. Okay. Luz Davina, you notice I didn't say Bucky Dent, Mr. Bless.
It's okay.
Hello, guys. Did anybody play this who previously transferred to get transferred again? I don't know, Greg. Did anybody get transferred?
We can't tell from what we see in the data scraping where. Well, we can look and see if there was more than one transfer, but we can't tell where from what locations they were transferred from and to. So that's something that now if a plaintiff is getting some information and they can say where it is, it's helpful for us to know that, but we can't tell that specifically. All we can see is that there was more than one transfer, but we also know that they basically haven't done anything for more than a handful of people in the last 6 weeks.
Also, an email will go out shortly, probably tomorrow. But if you check the Facebook group for IMMPact 601A class action plaintiffs, I posted about 30 minutes ago our response in a Dropbox, and it's still waiting admin approval. I'm looking at it right now. So yeah, we'll get you an email out to you guys, Bruno. Thank you very much. All right, that about does it for today. It's kind of crazy time in my office, and I know Jesse and Greg have things to do too. We'll be back live next Tuesday at noon, and I'll be live tomorrow at 1 o'clock on my Facebook page. Jesse, do you do any live? You're not doing any lives, or
So, no, after this I go back into a cage and I come out. I only come out Tuesdays. Tuesdays at noon. Yeah.
Siskin, I missed you in LA over the weekend, but I'm sure you had a fun time at your conference and learned lots of good things. I just want you to know that I showed to our colleagues the meeting I was at how ChatGPT worked, and there were more than one jaw on the floor about what it can do, including the comment, "OMG, what about our jobs?" So
litigators are okay.
Litigators are fine. All right, you guys have a great week. Bye-bye.